Hello and welcome. I am Light, and this is my channel. Today we're going to talk about a day that changed America forever. Before I get started, I need to say this. This video discusses a real-life tragedy. Viewer discretion is advised. This is created to remember the victims and reflect, not to glorify violence. April 20th, 1999. It started like any other day at Columbine High School. Students laughed in the hallways. Friends made plans for after school. Teachers prepared their lessons. No one knew that it would be the last normal moment they'd share. In Littleton, it was a typical spring morning. There were tests to take, conversations to finish, and futures waiting just ahead. Moments that seemed small at the time, but would soon mean everything. At 11:19 a.m., everything changed. Confusion, then fear. Students didn't understand what was happening, only that something was terribly wrong. Hallways that once felt safe became places people were desperate to escape. Some students ran, not looking back. Others hid. Under desks, inside classrooms, behind locked doors, holding their breath, trying not to make a sound. Time slowed down. Every second felt like it might be their last. In the library, many found themselves trapped, facing fear that no one should ever have to experience. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold had arrived at the school armed with firearms and homemade explosives. Their original plan, far worse than what unfolded, was to detonate bombs in the cafeteria during lunch. But when the bombs failed to explode, they began taking matters into their own hands. Some children called their parents for what they feared could be the last time. The library became one of the deadliest locations in the school. By the end of this attack, 12 students and 1 teacher had lost their lives. Their names deserve to be remembered. Cassie Bernal, Stephen Kernow, Corey DePuter, Kelly Fleming, Matthew Ketcher, Daniel Mosser, Dave Sanders, Rachel Scott, Isaiah Scholes, John Tomlin, Lauren Townsend, Kyle Velasquez, Daniel Robar. These were more than victims. They were sons, they were daughters, they were friends. They had lives full of purpose. By 12:08 p.m., less than an hour after it began, the perpetrators turned their weapons on themselves. The nightmare was over, except it wasn't. The pain had only begun. The Columbine High School massacre shocked the nation. It sparked conversations about school safety, bullying, mental health, gun violence, and it forever changed our way of life. In the years since, experts have studied the warning signs, the planning, and the failures that led to this tragedy. Understanding what happened isn't about glorifying it. It is about preventing it from ever happening again. April 20th, 1999. It's not just a date. It's a reminder of how fragile life is and how important it is to look out for one another. If you believe that stories like these should be told with respect and remembered, please consider sharing this video. This is a video that means a lot to me. I remember where I was that day. I remember I was listening to the radio in my car. Yeah, the radio. And the news came over. I had a teenager in my car, my son, and a toddler, and a newborn. And I pulled over to the side of the road before I reached my destination because I could not believe what I was hearing. I could not believe that the place we send our children to learn, to engage, suddenly wasn't a safe place to be. I could not believe that two boys could do something like this without there being something terribly wrong. I could not believe what those parents, as they waited for the calls to tell them if their child was coming home or if their child was not coming home ever again. That pain as a parent was excruciating to me. I'll never forget that day. And here's where I'm going to talk about my opinions on things. And if you don't want to hear these opinions, then now is the time to go ahead, exit the video. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. But I need to talk about this. In the times since Columbine happened, nothing has changed. In fact, it's gotten worse. To this day, those types of people who mean to kill and maim other children look up to these two boys as heroes. They want to be famous like them, infamous, even more famous, do something even worse. That is their goal. And I'm going to talk to you about some statistics really quick. This shooting was the very first shooting of its kind, in that it was a K through 12 shooting, is what they call it. There had been 2 other mass shootings, but they had been at universities. Since 2015, school shooting incidents in the U.S. have skyrocketed compared to previous decades. There were 233 shooting incidents at K-12 schools in 2025, resulting in 221 injuries and fatalities. Between 1999 and 2025, there have been an average of 6 active shooter events in K-12 schools per year. The majority of active shooter incidents since 1999 have happened in high schools, 55% to date to be exact. As of 2024, more than 400 school shootings had taken place since Columbine, exposing more than 370,000 U.S. students to gun violence. When the Sandy Hook shootings happened in a grade school, we all gasped, clutched our pearls, and thought, surely this will be the last one. Surely something will be done to protect our children. These children who are going to school in government buildings should have protection. But there has been no federal demands or requirements for schools. And it's just any day now that we're going to hear about another one. The Uvalde shooting in 2022 happened in Texas. The police officers on the scene sat outside of that children's school, grade school, 4th graders, stood outside of that building for 77 minutes. 77 minutes. I'm going to pause for just a few seconds. Feel this. Now imagine 77 minutes where this person was allowed to not only terrorize small children, but remove them from their parents, from their grandparents, from their friends, from their neighbors, their aunts, their uncles. Remove them while the police stood outside and did nothing. Here's a few sentences from schoolsafety.gov, a government website. This is what it says. This is what it says needs to be done. Addressing targeted violence should be part of a school's larger prevention system that begins with issues such as school climate. A positive school climate promotes respectful, trusting, and caring relationships and opens lines of communication, and students may feel more comfortable asking for help or to report concerns. Take that in for a minute. Being a happier place. Make the school a happier place. That's what our government tells us should be done. It doesn't mandate that every state follow restrictions, that every state builds safety rooms, has bulletproof glass, has doors that automatically shut behind that can only be opened by a code or by a fingerprint. Our children are sitting ducks, fish in a barrel. And the school is to blame. The responsibility is put on the school. It should be a happier place. But there are mass shootings in churches, movie theaters, synagogues, temples, grocery stores, festivals, outside rock concert in Las Vegas. When are we going to understand that there needs to be measures put in place to protect our children? When are we going to get that? These are government buildings, funded by the government, unless it's a private school, and it's their job to pay for changes to be made to the structure of buildings, in my personal opinion. There needs to be something done. Some schools have put the responsibility on teachers and staff to carry weapons, making themselves targets, making it their responsibility to protect the children in that school. Those teachers work for a government building. They should be protected, not having to teach math and also having to protect the children from someone coming in with a weapon more powerful than the one they'll be allowed to take to school. In most schools, the only people not allowed to take a gun are the people going in the school, who are in the school. A perpetrator doesn't follow the rules, isn't going to follow the rules. So what else is there to do? invest in the safety of our children. So 370,000 children are not exposed to gun violence and the mental health issues that come with that. When I go to a concert, in the place I live, we have concerts, outdoor concerts. It scares me every time because we're kind of herded into a fishbowl. There's no place to hide. There's no place to run to. And it makes me feel unsafe. When my son played volleyball for the junior Olympic teams, we would go to these huge tournaments. One year we went to a huge tournament. The weekend after this tournament was an NRA convention. And as I stood in that huge, massive environment with thousands of people, I looked for exit doors. And this particular place in Texas has one way out, and it's down escalators or elevator. Imagine standing there, hundreds of people trying to get into an elevator, and the deaths that alone would cause, the trampedes that alone would cause deaths. In your everyday life, do you think about where the exits are? Do you think about where there's some place to hide? I live just a mile away from where a mass shooting happened in an outdoor mall a few years ago in McKinney, Texas. Might be considered Allen, Texas. It's Allen, which I live in Allen. An outdoor mall, very much like the outdoor mall I live over. And they released the policeman's video of what happened, and as he was running towards danger, the hero this man was, running towards danger, running over the bodies of small children, babies in strollers, parents, aunts, uncles, friends, neighbors, co-workers. That man was put on leave after he removed the shooter. He was put on leave and he was put on trial to see if his shot was justified. We got to do better than this. We have to do better than this. I can't go to that mall anymore. I went to that mall about a month after it happened, and I got an alert on my phone saying that I might be having a heart issue because my blood pressure, my heart rate was so high. Now, I'm not saying take guns away. I'm not saying that. My husband is a lifelong member of the NRA. We have guns. We own guns. My husband took classes and received a concealed weapons permit. I'm not saying take guns away. I'm saying we need to do better. We need to do better. And if you think that your child, your son, is dangerous, you need to do better. You need to make sure that weapons are locked away. And we need to put pressure on our government to do more than say that the schools need to be a happier environment. That is insane. That is putting blame on the schools, the teachers, the other students. Yes, if there's bullying, absolutely. Do better. Stop it. There should be no second chances. And they should have marks on their records declaring that they are dangerous. We should know where our children are walking into and who's there. And we should know that they're safe, that they are in a safe room, that their school classroom can be locked by an impenetrable door. And if it has glass on it, glass that cannot be fractured or shot through. We need our teachers to be in those rooms too. And everyone who works at that school building, from the people who work in the cafeterias to the people who work in the custodial areas, everybody should have a place to go if something is happening. Putting on a smiling face, making it a happier place, is ridiculous as the only method that schoolsafety.gov highly recommends. They also go on to recommend that there should be shooter drills, which our 5-year-olds are going through and experiencing right now. Shooter drills. I have grandchildren in those grades, kindergarten, first, second, that have to go through shooter drills 3 times a year. They don't understand that. It's not going to accurately prepare them in the case that something tragic happens. If you would, please share this video, I would greatly appreciate it. I went to Columbine High School. I didn't go to Columbine High School. When we were in Colorado, we drove to Columbine High School. The school is stuck in time. It's stuck in time. It's the same. The letters of the name of the high school have changed colors, but it's still the same. It's a monster. Across the street from neighborhoods where those children used to walk to that school, still do walk to that school. It was a very strange setting because there's a sports area around the school. So there's people out there playing tennis, soccer, a lot of joggers, a big play area with several dozens of children. Life goes on. But it felt to me like a terrible darkness, like a monster under your bed, to see that still standing. We went to the memorials, and they're devastating. And there's a hiking trail that goes right over the memorial. And people were walking and jogging and pushing strollers, and they probably don't think twice about it. But we need to think twice about it. We need to remember these things. We need to stop letting them fall out of the news, and we need to pressure our government to do something. It's their job. It's what we pay them for. Thank you for coming to my channel. Feel free to leave comments. I will not leave up any comments that are to incite anger, rage-baiting comments. I will not leave those up, because that's not what this is about. It's about education. It's about remembering these young lives. A victim of the Columbine shootings, Rachel Scott, told her teacher that very day that she was going to have an impact on this world. And it broke my heart, because the reality is that she didn't. There weren't changes made. And there have been hundreds and hundreds of deaths since. Thank you for coming to my channel. Good night.